coral reef is one of nature's richest domains. Like a rainforest under the sea, it teems with life, but much of it remains a mystery. In this spectacular realm, countless life forms thrive within an ecosystem that's as complex as it is mysterious. An immense universe of numerous microhabitats. Sabah has some of the finest coral reefs in the world. Apart from their biological significance, these reefs fringe a number of exotic islands. Islands which have become important centers for marine research and conservation. These include Tunku Rahman Park, Pulau Tiga Park, and the Turtle Islands Park, under the jurisdiction of Sabah Parks. Sabah's marine parks are blessed with warm, generally shallow and clear water, a conducive home to countless species of coral alone. These hard corals are builders of spectacular reefs. Individual coral polyps secrete calcium carbonate that eventually becomes the matrix of the reef. Living coral forms only a thin veneer, flourishing on layers of previous generations over the skeletal remains of ancestors. Hard corals form the nucleus of life on the reef, providing habitats, food, protection, and shelter. By contrast, soft corals lack a hard limestone skeleton. Like many reef inhabitants, they secrete chemicals that prevent or inhibit encrusting growths. This phenomenon is of interest to medical science. The coral reef may hold the key to cures for human ailments. Coral is now used in bone grafts. Virus infections are treated with chemicals found in several coral species, and 1/2 of all new research on cancer drugs focuses on marine organisms. Besides coral, there are other reef invertebrates that form important biological components of the reef's ecosystem. Sponges serve as a reminder of the reef's glorious history. These are animals that have existed since Precambrian times, 700 million years ago. Besides their absorbent properties, sponges are known to be useful in treating cancer. Sea cucumbers litter the ocean floor. Like many reef denizens, they are prized for their medicinal properties. Of the reef's invertebrates, crustaceans are the most abundant as a group. They show incredible diversity in size, shape, color, and lifestyle. But due to their tiny size and cryptic habits, they are not always evident. To the patient observer, crustaceans such as the peacock mantis shrimp can provide hours of fascination. This attractive shrimp comes from an ancient lineage. In its eyes are 3 black spots, or pseudo-pupils, each comprising thousands of visual elements. When the mantis shrimp focuses both eyes on a target, it sees multiple perspectives. Of all the reef's inhabitants, fishes are the most apparent. This is not surprising, considering the coral reef is home to numerous fish species. from gentle rays to colourful clowns, from timid sand dwellers to vicious predators. The natural life of every marine creature revolves around survival and procreation. Every species is part of the food chain, though each takes a slightly different path. Or uses a unique adaptation to survive. Fish living in different habitats adopt different types of camouflage to outwit predators. The flounder is an undisputed master of camouflage. By contracting or expanding sacs of pigment in its skin, it blends in perfectly with its sandy hideout. The flounder's eyes can rotate, giving it independent vision plus a 360-degree panorama of its surroundings. The stonefish and the scorpionfish masquerade as rocks on the reef, motionless and covered with fleshy flaps that look like algae. They are almost invisible. Others, like the lionfish, have wing-like fins spiked with venomous lances to ward off predators. The Christmas tree worm resembles candy-colored cones. Sensing danger, it promptly retracts, virtually disappearing from sight. To the hermit crab, sheltering from predators is the first line of defense. Adopting an empty shell, the crab goes everywhere with a mobile home on its back. True shellfish need not borrow someone else's home. These giant clams are gentle creatures with hard protective shells. Unfortunately, their shells offer little protection from human predators. Resorting to colour and an unpleasant taste for defence, nudibranchs are some of the reef's most attractive inhabitants. Being mollusks without protective shells, they use bright colours, imitating poisonous creatures of the sea to ward off predators. The sea snake is among the deadliest. It advertises this with a black and white banded pattern. Fish seem to realize this and maintain a safe distance. Like some of its terrestrial relatives, it uses a highly potent venom to immobilize prey within seconds. It is at least 4 times more poisonous than a cobra. To mislead predators, many juveniles look different from their parents. The adult and juvenile harlequin sweetlips, whose colour and pattern differ vastly, are good examples. Likewise, the juvenile rock mover wrasse and its parents bear little family resemblance. To survive, a species must adopt an effective reproductive strategy. Sexual reproduction in marine animals reflects a range of environmental and biological peculiarities. Many butterfly fish are monogamous. They mate for life, defend territories as couples, and care for their young as pairs. Anemone fish, on the other hand, are sequential hermaphrodites. They can be both male and female, but not at the same time. In most species, only one pair of anemone fish in a community is reproductive. The female is the largest, the next largest being the male. If something happens to the female, the male changes into a female and becomes the matriarch. The next largest juvenile then transforms rapidly to assume the role and status of the functional male. Nudibranchs take it a step further. They mate as both females and males at the same time. A nudibranch will deposit its eggs on a reef in a delicate whorled ribbon. After completing the rose-like arrangement, the eggs are left to develop on their own. In many marine creatures, the young depend on sheer numbers to compensate for their low odds of survival. Courtship among cuttlefish involves gentle stroking and color changes. Males compete fiercely for females by resorting to violent-looking colors and patterns to ward off rivals. This is accomplished by expanding and contracting pigment sacs on the skin. Actual mating occurs very quickly, with the male reaching into the female's mantle and depositing a sperm packet. The female proceeds to lay her eggs, attaching them amongst the corals. The coral reef showcases some of nature's most unlikely partnerships. Some species benefit from others by striking up symbiotic relationships. The batfish and the cleaner wrasse enjoy a mutually beneficial partnership. The batfish changes to a darker color as the wrasse removes parasites from its body. After a thorough body wash, the batfish reverts to its pale coloration. The clownfish and the anemone are two distinctly different species that live together. By gaining immunity from the anemone's sting, the clownfish gains a home that's safe from predators. In return, it acts as bait for other sea creatures that fall prey to the host anemone. This shrimp has set up home with a goby. They are perfect roommates. Though blind, the shrimp takes housekeeping duties seriously. Ever alert, the goby stands guard just outside their home. Remoras often attach themselves to turtles. Leftovers from the turtle's meals provide sustenance. The remora also feeds on parasites from the turtle's body, providing a service in return for free rides and food. Symbiotic relationships can develop even between animals and plants. Reef-building corals are animals, while zooxanthellae are algae. Together, they enjoy a mutually beneficial relationship. Coral receives oxygen and nutrients from zooxanthellae. Zooxanthellae, in return, absorbs carbon dioxide and fertilizer from coral. What's waste to one is food to another. Despite years of research, the coral reef remains an enigma. Scientists are keen to unravel more of its secrets and to identify threats to its survival. In recent years, coral bleaching has become a major concern worldwide. Although climatic change and global warming are said to be the principal causes, the human element cannot be ruled out. Infestation by the crown of thorns starfish is another phenomenon prompted by possible human interference. Indiscriminate fishing techniques cause extensive reef damage in many parts of the world. The reefs of Sabah and the neighboring areas are not spared. With the introduction of marine parks in Sabah, reefs are now protected. Reefs are central to life in the sea. If they are destroyed, the effects will be phenomenal. Their importance extends beyond acting as buffers against waves and coastal erosion. Reefs are breeding grounds for fish and other marine life. They are a treasure trove of biodiversity. If we destroy our reefs, we would lose this vital natural resource and its potential forever. It is critical that we preserve our coral reefs. We need to ensure their importance is fully understood. Besides legislation and supervision, education and research are key elements in the successful management of Sabah's marine parks. To protect the marine environment, basic guidelines must be observed. These include not throwing rubbish into the sea, not breaking or damaging coral in any way, and not removing any life forms. The parks are to help conserve our natural heritage for the benefit of generations to come. Sabah Parks, preserving Sabah's natural heritage.